Good. How's it going for you? Yes. Everything optimism.
Check, check. Check, check, Macedonia. That's how I used to do my checks. We stand for justice. We know what it looks like. We stand together for justice. We unite. We stand for justice. We know what it feels like. When we stand together for justice, we will fight. Spending my days and nights just working takes all my time and energy. The wage I make is not livable. Keeps me from being free. We stand for justice. We know what it looks like. We stand together for justice. We unite. We stand for justice. We know what it feels like. When we stand together for justice, we will fight. While you want to deport me, my community needs and supports me. With so much work to be done, why does it matter where I'm from? We stand for justice, we know what it looks like. We stand together for justice, we unite. We stand for justice, we know what it feels like. When we stand together for justice, we will fight. Lines on a map will not divide us. We're singing out from shore to shore. Around the world our song is rising, from a whisper to a roar. We stand for justice, we know what it looks like. We stand together for justice, we unite. We stand for justice, we know what it feels like. When we stand together for justice, we will fight. Everybody, we stand for justice, we know what it looks like. We stand together for justice, we unite. We stand for justice, we know what it feels like. When we stand together for justice, we will fight. For justice, we will fight.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Multifaith Mondays. And the rain just stopped, I do believe. So we are standing in an auspicious moment in time, of course. Historically and literally, we stand just after the moment that the spring season begins, March 21st. The holy season of Ramadan has just concluded with its sacred time of prayer and reflection and meaningful commitments to deep values. We're in the middle of the weeks leading up to Easter, the holiness of believing and recommitting ourselves to second chances. And we have this profound time in the Jewish calendar of being in the month of Nisan, leading up to the holiday of Passover in a little bit over a week from now. So we stand here celebrating 1 year of Multi-Faith Mondays, of multi-faith folks standing out throughout the seasonal changes in small groups and in large groups, creating holy space that's filled with our prayer and our thoughts and our variety of religious backgrounds to insist that we stand for a democracy that lifts us all. And likewise, this month we celebrate the 1 year of the Beacon for Democracy, which is the sibling group that stands not only here in New York City, but all around New York and around the country. Every Thursday, Mondays and Thursdays, we have this witness. And on Thursdays throughout the city in local neighborhoods, people stand and insist on the same thing, that each of us has within us a spark of light. And the deep evil that has descended and continues to surround us with violence and war and hatred can be defeated with each of our sparks of light creating room to insist that we have what it takes to create light in the midst of these times. It's not easy to do. We have to fight our despair and our sense of being overwhelmed to remember the power inside of each of us. So we're here to celebrate, to mourn, to be aware of the difficult times we are in, but to not let any of that defeat us. And we stand here with the various gods we bring with us, the various deep wells of faith we have, whether we are secular or from deep traditions of commitment to justice. We stand here together. And first, I want to invite Hussein Rashid, a fellow board member of mine from the Interfaith Center of New York, and a professor, visiting professor at Union Theological Seminary, for some words.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful, may God's peace, mercy, and blessings be with you this evening. It is a powerful night to be here with you. As Rabbi Sharon said, we are at a moment of transition across religious traditions. Friday, Saturday, depending how you count, was also Nowruz, the Persian New Year, which is an incredibly important day for Shia Muslims as well. To think of this moment of transition, to think of what we are going into, and to think about the tyrants that populate at least my tradition. Not in a good way, I should be clear, because this is America and I just need to be clear. Muslim, we don't support the tyrants. Right, exactly. Down with tyrants. Where are my no tyrant signs? Where's my fighting a tyrant since Pharaoh? Where's my we left that one. But thinking about the tyrants in our tradition and what they stood for. And what they stood for was themselves. What they stood for was the idea that they could compete with God, that they could stand with the greatest powers. When we say Allahu Akbar, God is greater, what they heard was that I can be greater than that, instead of saying I will diminish myself. Yes. So when we think about Pharaoh, we tend to think of Moses, and yes, Pharaoh was a tyrant. Moses was a tyrant. But what did he hate? He hated difference. But there's another Pharaoh, the Pharaoh of the story of Joseph, of Yusuf. And what did that Pharaoh hate? That Pharaoh hated difference. And we think about the great tyrants. Who are the people that subjugated Abraham and his families? Were people who hated difference. When you think about Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his family, who was it that stood opposed to his mission? Were the people who hated difference. And as the Pharaoh and Moses led to the Exodus, and then led to something greater. The opposition to the Prophet Muhammad forced the hijrah, the migration from Makkah to Medina, but then led to something greater, the return to Makkah, and the idea that we can stand for justice in the most challenging of circumstances, rooted in righteousness, in truth, and say that we will leave and we will return, and wherever it is I stand is my home, because this is where I will make justice. And this is the season of transition that we stand in. God loves you, man. So do I. This is the season of transition that we lean into, that we believe in, is that we will stand for truth and justice no matter where we are. And this is the very nature of our being, and this is what we are called to. That we will never transition out of justice, but we will always transition more to justice. We will always stand more firmly for justice. And we will always be known as the carriers of truth and the defenders of our people. Thank you.
Amin. Thank you so much for that. And now I'd like to welcome Rabbi Mike Moskowitz, who's the Director of Scholarship and Multi-Faith Engagement for the Beacon.
Good evening. It's a distinct honor and pleasure to be here. Judaism and science teaches us that a little bit of light dispels a lot of darkness because the light is real. However, there's a particular type of darkness which the Hebrew Bible tells us isn't just simply the absence of light, but the presence of something that's so thick people are not able to see each other. And in our times as well, there's a darkness that is plaguing our society, which is that some people choose not to see the other as people. And now, like then, we need the clarity of moral leadership to be able to help guide us out of that oppression, for liberation for all. And Hebrew scriptures tell us that Moses went from running Pharaoh's house just 3 verses later to being on the run, because he turned away from his privilege, from his agency and self-protection, perceived protection, to focus his heart and his eyes on the affliction and the oppression of others. And in the mystical tradition, our ability to see God is actually formed and developed by our ability to focus and see the necessity for the well-being of others. That because Moses was able to see the affliction of individuals, those who were in the margins, Moses was then worthy to be able to see the divine light being revealed at the burning bush. In that tradition, the burning bush was there for everybody, but those who don't see human suffering can never see or be worthy of the divine light. And so as we prepare for Passover, the very first mission in the beginning of Tractate Psachim tells us that when we go and we search for chametz, the unleavened bread, we do so with the light of a candle, and it's with the light of the 14th, even though we do it at night. And it introduces our recognition of how empowered we are to transition and accelerate the night into the dawn. That when we start the story of the Maggid section of the Haggadah, we open it by saying, anyone who's hungry, let them come and eat. And then the question of how is this night different from all other nights becomes one of rebuke. That on all other nights, if somebody's hungry, they can't come and eat. And so ultimately becomes a challenge for us that if we want to feel that proximity to be able to bask in the divine light, we have to make sure that everybody's physical needs are taken care of. And that's the work of this time, and that's the work of this group, and so honored as always to be part of it.
Yes. We have to remember, in the end, Pharaoh does not win. Yes. And now, Lynn Paltrow, longtime friend and colleague, and now member of the executive leader team of the Beacon.
It's a privilege to be here on behalf of the Beacon for Democracy. And as you know, we are a proud co-sponsor of Multifaith Mondays. I haven't been here every Monday, but I have been here for many of them, inspired by speakers and preachers and music makers. I've appreciated standing with all of you in a practice of patience and persistence, the kind that prepares us for a time when we, like our Minnesota friends, do we have anybody here from Minnesota?
Yes.
Thank you, New York. And we have to, and we may have to do much more than weekly vigils. I'm particularly pleased to be here at the beginning of spring, not that you could tell, and in the lead up to the Jewish holiday of Passover. And as you've heard Rabbi Kleinbaum say, the Pharaoh doesn't win. It's also vital to remember that this is because people, everyday people, organized and resisted. That is why on this holiday we eat matzah, the flat, tasteless, unleavened bread that is often referred to as the bread of affliction. I prefer to think of it as the bread of resistance and rebellion that came about at a time when our forebears had to spend much more time organizing than cooking. This is a holiday that comes up in online searches for the earliest example of civil disobedience. Credited with that first recorded act of refusing to follow immoral, unjust laws were the midwives named Shiphrah and Puah. The king of Egypt had issued, let's call it an executive order, mandating that midwives who attended the births of Hebrew women kill the newborn sons. Shiphrah and Puah refused. I love this holiday because it's one that not only gives us an opportunity to think about liberation, but for the meaning of reproductive justice, something I worked for most of my career on. Reproductive justice is the inclusive human rights-based framework envisioned by Black women that demands the right to not have to have children, but also the right to have children and the right to parent those children in safe and sustainable communities. The Pharaoh then and the regime now has no interest in ensuring those rights. And many of us are feeling tired and even hopeless and afraid that there's nothing we can do, that nothing any of us do each week here and on Thursdays that will make a difference. But what we are doing is something extremely important. We are witnessing to and for democracy. We are defying the hopes of the regime by refusing to be isolated, by encouraging courage. And I am reminded, what did I say? Encourage courage.
Repeating what you said.
Everybody. And in this, I am reminded of a song we sing on Passover, Dayenu. It recites each of God's miracles that occurred and that enabled the Exodus. And so you say one, that God got us out of Egypt, Dayenu. That was enough. God gave us the Torah. That was enough. But as an excellent inquiry into that question says, what does this mean it would have been enough? Surely no one of these would indeed have been enough for us. Dayenu means to celebrate each step toward freedom as if it were enough, then to start out on the next step. It means that if we reject each step, but it is not, because it is not the whole liberation, we will never be able to achieve the whole liberation. It means to sing each verse as if it were the whole song, and then to sing the next verse. I end by saying, we have stood as witnesses for democracy in the warmth and the rain of spring. Dayenu. We have stood as witnesses for democracy in the sweltering heat of summer. Dayenu. We have stood as witnesses for democracy in the cooling down of fall. Dayenu. We have stood as witnesses for democracy in the freezing cold of winter. Dayenu. We will not give up. We will not turn our faces away from acts of cruelty and destruction. We will not fail to take however many steps together it will take to lift the boat for all of us.
Thank you. And now I'm delighted to invite one of the regulars, the stalwarts, the pillar that helps with so many of you hold up Multifaith Mondays, my dear friend, Reverend Fred Davey.
So I am going to just say a few words about the meaning of Exodus and light for the Black religious experience, particularly the Black Christian experience here in America. And the light of the Exodus story has burned in the souls of Black people in the United States of America for centuries. When our ancestors were chained in the holds of ships, many carried the Exodus light in their spirits. When they labored under the whip, they whispered Exodus in their prayers. When they gathered in the hush hoppers, they sang, "Go down, Moses, tell, O Pharaoh, to let my people go." That wasn't just a song, it was theology. It was resistance. It was hope. The Exodus light says this: oppression is not God's will, and liberation is not a dream. It is God's promise. For Black Christians in the United States, the light of Exodus does not only shine at the Red Sea, it shines in the wilderness too. Because after shouting, after the chains are broken, there is still a journey, a long road through uncertainty and fear and struggle. As a people, we've had to learn to endure the journey through the wilderness. We've had to learn how to trust God. We've had to learn how to build community. We've had to learn how to move from survival to purpose. We have seen Red Seas part through emancipation, through civil rights, through every victory wrestled from justice. But we also know that the wilderness, we've known many wildernesses, mass incarceration, economic inequality, voter suppression, violence that threatens our children and our very lives. Yet even in the wilderness, God provides light. The Bible says that God led them by a pillar of fire at night, a light in the darkness. That means when the way is unclear, when the night is long, God does not leave us without guidance. Today, I'm here to declare with unwavering resolve that the Exodus light is still with us. It is in every voice that speaks truth to power. It is in every act of justice and mercy. It is in every young person who dares to believe in a better future. It is in the faith of our elders who kept marching when the road was hard. The light of the Exodus is not behind us, it is before us. So we do not lose heart, we do not grow weary, because the same God who brought Israel out of Egypt is still at work. That same God who parted the seas and can make a way out of no way. That same God who lit the night 1,000 years ago is still lighting our paths today. And one day, yes, one day, we will just glimpse the promise. We will not just glimpse the promised land, we will walk into it together. Until then, keep following the light. Keep following the light. Keep following the light. God bless you.
This is amazing, this collection of deep wisdom and powerfully expressed dreams and hopes that bring us all together. And now I'm delighted to invite Rabbi Mark Margolius. We actually went to rabbinical school together. That's how long we know each other. And Mark now works at the Institute for Jewish Spirituality, a very essential source of strength through these really difficult times.
New York City. New York City! We are people of faith, and we are here to testify on behalf of God. Just as a couple of days ago, the Jewish people read the words from the prophet Isaiah in which God says, Atem Edai, you are my witnesses. And there's a radical Jewish teaching about that verse where God says, if you are my witnesses, then I can be God. But if you do not serve as my witnesses, it's as if I cannot be God. It's all up to us. It is literally on us to be witnesses for democracy, witnesses for the sanctity and holiness that is revealed in diversity and in difference. For 1 year now, here at Multifaith Monday and at the Beacon, in a particularly dispiriting time, the Beacon and Multifaith Mondays has inspired us to testify, to show up on God's behalf. Every small decision to be here, to resist here and elsewhere, every small decision to make and craft a sign like people are holding, every small decision to make a phone call, to speak to somebody across political differences, is a way of lifting a holy spark from underneath the surface into the light of day. And the practice for serving as a witness, the instructions for serving as a witness are actually fairly simple. The ones that I follow are based on the Jewish morning liturgy, but it's a practice that works for any faith or for no faith at all. You don't have to believe in God, or you can believe in the God of your understanding. Here's step one. Step one is noticing the holiness, the beauty, and the love in the world around us. So I want to invite you to take a look around to all these beautiful people over there. Over there in the park, this beautiful park, you can see this You can see the stone, the Manhattan schist that's been there, and God willing will be there. We look around and we see beauty in the world. That's step one. Step two is we receive and absorb and metabolize that beauty and that joy and that love. We can do that certainly by making circles with our hands. I want to invite you to do that. Make a circle and just bring it right into your heart. And take a moment to absorb it. Take a moment to metabolize it. In this practice, we realize that the light that's around us is actually living within us. And it manifests, we experience it as love. Step three is to remember that we are meant to be channels of that love. Each of us in our own unique way, in our own distinctive traditions, is intended to refract that light back out into the world. That's all we're here to do. To notice the light outside, to bring it inside ourselves, notice it within ourselves, and let it pass through, step by step, day by day. These, we all know, are days of constriction and fear. And in Jewish tradition, in Jewish mysticism, there's a phrase that is called mochin dekatnut, which means literally small-mindedness, narrow-mindedness, constrained imagination, the inability to see or to witness anything beyond ourselves. And we do, in fact, need to acknowledge fear and grief and pain and even despair. Those are real, but not to be limited by them. Because this is also the season for recognizing that constriction represents the process of labor and rebirth and renewal, the birth pangs of expanded consciousness. So next week, in our tradition, Jewish tradition, we'll gather around Seder tables, and we will remember that liberation began with the courageous steps of the midwives, who stood up to raw, abusive power at great personal peril, and who were in fact founding members of the Beacon. We're walking in their footsteps today. In the bleakest of time, they stood up against power and testified to the holiness of life, of love, and justice. So I want to close with the words that were spoken in 2016. Many of you probably know these words by the Sikh activist Valerie Kaur, who reminds us that to bear witness in times like this is to midwife a future that is more just, more free, and more peaceful. This is what she said, 2016. The mother in me asks, what if? What if this darkness is not the darkness of the tomb, but the darkness of the womb? What if our America is not dead, but a country that is waiting to be born? What if the story of America is one long labor? What if all our grandparents are standing behind us now? Those who survived occupation, those who survived genocide, slavery, Jim Crow, detentions, political assault. What if they are whispering in our ears right now, you are brave? What if this is our nation's greatest transition? And she concludes, what does the midwife tell us to do? Breathe. And then push. Because if we don't push, we will die. If we don't push, this nation will die. Tonight, she said, we will breathe, and tomorrow and today, and what we're doing right here, is laboring in love. Through love and through revolutionary love is the magic we will show our children.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Thank you. So beautiful. And now I'd like to invite Eve Silber, who's also very active in the Beacon, to close our time together. But when she finishes singing, we're going to join together for a group photograph. So join us up on the steps with all of our signs.
Check. The song was written just about a year ago, literally right after the first march, like right after the first march. Can you turn that middle knob up all the way to the right? To the right? Thank you. All right. inspired by Martin Luther King. Hope it's obvious. Can't fight darkness with darkness. Only fight darkness with light. Can't fight darkness with darkness. Only fight darkness with light. Can't fight hate without love. Can't fight hate without love. Can't fight hate without love, 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 love. Can't fight hate without love. Can't fight hate without love. We're gonna do it again. Sing along. Can't fight darkness with darkness. Only fight darkness with light. Can't fight darkness with darkness. Only fight darkness with light. Can't fight hate without love. Can't fight hate without love, 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 love. Can't fight hate without love. No, you can't fight hate without love. One more.
We're singing, everybody come up to the picture.
Yes, please come up. I'll keep singing. Join me. Can't fight dark. They're coming closer with darkness. Don't be afraid. Only fight darkness. Everybody make it loud. Come on, James. Darkness with dark. Hi, James. Only fight darkness with light. Can't fight hate without love. Can't fight hate without love. Can't fight hate without love, 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 love. Can't fight hate without love. No, you can't fight hate without love. Can't fight darkness with dark. Keep moving in on the ends. Can only fight darkness with light. Squeezing on the ends, moving on the ends. Can't fight darkness with darkness.
Just take the umbrella down, sir. For a minute there. Great. Okay. This is wonderful. Oh my gosh, a year.
Love,
All right.
love,
Everyone.
love. Everybody, love, love,
Got it.
love. See you Saturday!
What incredible words to lead us through the desert into the promised land. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Multifaith Monday and the Beacon. Yes, Saturday, 1:30, we're having a multi-faith vigil right here before No Kings. Everybody's welcome to join us right here, 1:30 on Saturday before No Kings if you're going to the main one here in the city or around the city at all. NoKings.org, find a place to participate.
When is school officially out?